I'm really trying to say this as nicely as I possibly can. One of my weaknesses has always been, well, being able to effectively communicate with the intellectually challenged. This wild group that self-identifies as the apes, attacking innocent people's reputations. They are a bunch of saps living in some sort of fictional reality. Roach wants to evolve into something greater. So why? Why is it that this particular group of individuals, why is it that they chose to devolve?
You just witnessed a glimpse of the astonishing clash between Ken Griffin and the retail investors, known as the Apes. In a recent interview, Griffin expressed his surprising sentiments towards these investors, delivering a message you'd hardly believe. You won't find this exclusive content anywhere else, so ensure to like the video and subscribe to stay updated. Just 2 days ago, Ken Griffin sat for an interview where he shared his thoughts on the Apes. That's right. The billionaire hedge fund manager himself, known for his shrewd and calculative moves in the world of finance, decided to voice his views on retail investors, often referred to as the Apes. This was not an ordinary chat over coffee or a casual conversation. It was a structured interview designed to extract Griffin's raw, unfiltered thoughts about the Apes. The financial magnate, who usually maintains a low profile when it comes to public commentaries, broke his silence, and what he had to say was nothing short of astonishing. Ken Griffin, the man who sits atop Citadel, one of the world's largest and most influential hedge funds, had some unexpected words for the Apes. His comments were not of the usual condescension or dismissiveness that one might expect from a Wall Street titan. His message was different. It was appalling. He did not mince words, he did not hold back. He laid bare his thoughts, and believe me, they were nothing short of shocking. And now, you're about to hear it. Straight from the horse's mouth.
I've always had a rather tough time communicating with and I'm really trying to say this as nicely as I possibly can. So I guess one of my weaknesses has always been, well, being able to effectively communicate with the intellectually challenged. This wild group that self-identifies as the apes. Obviously they are not apes. Apes don't use the internet. Apes don't create YouTube videos attacking innocent people's reputations. People do that. Very, very evil people do that. So these guys are nothing more than Homo sapiens, not sapiens, because they are a bunch of saps living in some sort of fictional reality where they believe that science and technology will perhaps allow them to transition into an animal. I don't know. I mean, do we need to look into funding for the infrastructure needed to start putting in species-neutral bathrooms? Maybe that will help them calm down a little. But back to what I was saying, and I just want to make a couple of points about that. One, I'm highly educated, and I'd like to think of myself as someone that is quite brilliant. That leads me to number two. Instinctively, it's in our genes. It's built into every species to want to evolve. I would go as far as to say that even a roach wants to evolve into something greater. So why? Why is it that this particular group of individuals, why is it that they chose to devolve and become something that is, well, less than human? This brings me to my third point. I'm not good at communicating with animals. That's why I don't even own a dog. So, that being said, I'm afraid that there's not much I can say to this bunch of fruitcakes. But I will say something. I just have to think about how I can simplify what I'm going to say, essentially dumb it down for them quite a bit. After all, I want to make sure that they can understand me. Okay. Ooga, ooga, ooga booga, ooga booga, ooga booga. I think that they can understand that. I told them to go eat some fleas off one another. Mainly, they need to do this to avoid further irritation. And also, for health reasons. And I have a big banana that they can have. I absolutely cannot stand these YouTubers spreading lies about me on their channels, One of the worst ones is this guy, top ticker trades. He just refuses to stop. If you support them, shame. Shame on you.
You heard it here first, Griffin's shocking message to the apes. Stay tuned for more such exclusive content. Ken Griffin's words have only added fuel to the fire in this ongoing battle between the giants and the apes. In a world where Wall Street dominates, the underdogs struck back with the GameStop short squeeze, shaking the very foundations of trading platforms like Robinhood. This wasn't just any ordinary event. No, this was the stuff of legends. An army of retail investors, nicknamed the Apes, banded together to buy up GameStop shares, driving the price sky high. It was a blow to Wall Street giants who had bet on the company's downfall. But the celebration was short-lived. In an unprecedented move, Robinhood and other platforms restricted buying of the asset, causing widespread outrage. This wasn't just a restriction, it was a blockade, an impediment to the free market. The outcry was deafening, leading to scrutiny of these platforms and their practices. It was a David versus Goliath moment, and the world was watching. This was just the beginning of a power shift that would bring Ken Griffin and the apes into the limelight. As the dust settled, a conspiracy began to unfold between Ken Griffin and Robinhood. In the aftermath of the GameStop short squeeze, speculation arose that Ken Griffin, the billionaire hedge fund manager and CEO of Citadel Securities, may have conspired with Robinhood to halt trading. The crux of the conspiracy theory? Griffin's considerable financial leverage and influence. Let's delve a little deeper. Ken Griffin is no ordinary billionaire. He's a man with a reputation for knowing how to pull strings, a man who understands the power of the almighty dollar. His billions don't just sit in a bank account. They're active, influencing politicians and shaping legislation. This isn't just a casual claim. There is evidence to suggest that Griffin has used his financial might to sway politicians in his favor. But it's not just about the money. Griffin's tactics have raised eyebrows. Whispers of shady deals and bribes have followed him, seeming to suggest a willingness to bend the rules to win the game. It's a dangerous game, one that could have far-reaching implications for retail investors, or as they've come to be known, the apes. The apes are not just a group of investors. They're a movement, a collective of individuals who believe in the power of unity against the perceived corruption in the stock market. They're up against formidable opponents, billionaires like Griffin, who appear to use their wealth and influence to manipulate the market. Yet the apes remain undeterred. They see the alleged conspiracy between Griffin and Robinhood as a call to arms, a fight against the billionaire class that seems to control Wall Street. It's a fight that has captured the attention of the world. In this David versus Goliath battle, the stage is set for a showdown between Ken Griffin, a man with billions at his disposal, and the apes, a group of ordinary investors determined to expose what they believe are unjust practices. The stage was set for a showdown between Ken Griffin and the apes. In the shadows of trading, Ken Griffin held the cards with PFOF, dark pools, and FTDs. Payment for order flow, or PFOF, is a practice where brokers receive compensation for routing their clients' trades to certain market makers like Citadel. This means that Ken Griffin, through Citadel, could control the flow of certain trades, effectively preventing the apes from squeezing stocks like AMC. Dark pools, on the other hand, are private exchanges for trading securities that are not accessible by the investing public. They are called dark because their activity is intentionally hidden. Now, why would this matter to our apes? Let's imagine a large order of AMC shares being traded in a dark pool. This could potentially influence the stock's price without the ape's knowledge or ability to react, allowing Griffin to manipulate the game in his favor. Lastly, we have FTDs, or failures to deliver. These occur when a party fails to deliver a security or cash amount on the settlement date of a transaction. This can be a sign of short selling, as shares that are sold short must be borrowed and then delivered to the buyer. If the shares aren't borrowed, they can't be delivered, resulting in an FTD. When there's a high number of FTDs, it can be an indicator of naked short selling, a practice that is illegal under most circumstances. Unfortunately, this kind of activity can have a ripple effect, leading to bank failures and destabilizing the entire financial system. So Ken Griffin had a trifecta: PFOF, dark pools, and FTDs. He could control the flow of trades, operate in secrecy, and potentially engage in risky, illegal activities. But here's the thing about the apes. They're resilient. They're not just a group of retail investors, they're a community. And while Ken Griffin had the upper hand, the apes were not ready to back down. Despite the odds, the apes stood united against Ken Griffin's unjust practices. This group of retail investors, colloquially known as the apes, have shown remarkable resilience in their collective efforts to expose the alleged unlawful trading practices of Ken Griffin and his company, Citadel Securities. The apes are not your ordinary investors. They're a band of individuals who've come together, driven by a common goal, to level the playing field in a financial landscape that often favors the wealthy and influential. Their target? Ken Griffin, the billionaire founder of Citadel, who they believe is manipulating the market to his advantage while leaving them in the dust. But how does Griffin manage to stay ahead? Well, it's alleged that he has a secret weapon: his company's tendency to employ former officials from the Securities and Exchange Commission, the very body tasked with regulating the financial industry. This move, critics argue, gives Griffin an unparalleled edge, allowing him access to insider knowledge and strategic advice, which could potentially be used to navigate around regulatory scrutiny. Take, for instance, the case of Ben Bernanke, the former Federal Reserve chairman, who was hired by Citadel as a senior advisor in 2015. His deep understanding of monetary policy and his extensive network of contacts in the financial world could provide invaluable insights that could be leveraged to Citadel's advantage. Or consider the hiring of Brett Redfern, a former SEC official, in April 2021. Redfern, who once led the SEC's Division of Trading and Markets, came on board as Citadel's Director of Market Structure. His intimate knowledge of the inner workings of the financial markets is a prized asset in Citadel's arsenal. But the apes aren't backing down. They're fighting back with the most powerful weapon they have: unity. They're harnessing the power of social media to share information, expose alleged manipulations, and encourage each other to hold their ground. The battle continues, with the apes striving to create a perfect storm for another MOASS, aiming to take down hedge funds like Citadel. In this David versus Goliath story, the apes are proving that even the smallest stones can strike the mightiest giants. The implications of his comments have stirred the pot, sparking renewed determination from the retail investors, the apes. They stand firm, resolute in their cause, and undeterred by Griffin's disparaging remarks. This is a war of wills, and the apes are showing no signs of backing down. As the tension escalates, we'll be right here, bringing you the latest updates. Remember to like and subscribe for more exclusive content.